Tote board as we set up the Yankees getting here. Franchise history, it's a whitewash when it comes to experience. The Yankees, the 310 postseason games, 213 World Series games. As players go, the Yankees have 140 games of World Series experience. Jack McKeon's Marlins have a total of, 13.
Nobody gave us a chance to make it to the wild card. We did that. No one said we couldn't beat the Giants. We did that. We didn't have a chance against the Cubs with Torrey Wood and Pereira. We accomplished that feat. And this is the next level. And, it was just a club that goes out there. They're nice and loose and they're relaxed. And, we're going, hey, nobody expects us to be here. The pressure be on somebody else. We're going to go out there and have fun. And that's the way we've been playing. And hopefully we can keep playing that way and hope we keep winning.
All right, so we've set up the main course, and again, here are the number of postseason games the Florida Marlins have been involved with. But boy, didn't the appetizers to get here taste really, really good.
Base hit to right. Here comes the tying run. And here comes the winning run. 11th inning magic again for the Florida Marlins.
Loop shot into left. Here comes Conine. He can't get it. He's throwing home. Snow trying to score. The tag. A collision. He is out at home. And the Florida Marlins have cut down the Giants. The upset of the 2003 postseason. Way back into right field. The only issue's how far. Goodbye, home run, Matsui. A two-run shot.
Line drive, center field. Bernie Williams racing back. Has it. It's over. The Yankees advance.
The kick to the pitch. Swing and a fly ball center field. This is pretty well hit. Lofton at the track. Lofton at the wall. Out of here. Home run center field from Mike Lowell. Oh, man. Who's writing the script for this one?
Look out. That is high and tight, and now Manny walks out toward the mound. And he's shouting angrily at Roger. The plate umpire tries to separate him out. Don Zimmer in foul ground has gone down.
The Marlins, with an 8-run 8th inning, have defeated the Chicago Cubs in Game 6 to tie up the National League Championship Series at 3 games apiece.
1-0 the count on Baco. Runner goes. They're going to let him go. As the pitch swung on and hit to left field. This should do it. Conine is there, and that's the game. And the Florida Marlins are going to the World Series.
We go to the bottom of the 11th. Here's Aaron Boone to lead off. His first at-bat of the game. There's a fly ball deep to left. It's on its way. There it goes. And the Yankees are going to the World Series. Aaron Boone has hit a home run. The Yankees go to the World Series for the 39th time in their remarkable history.
Good for Aaron Boone. Now, everyone likes to say experience is important, but let's think, Aaron Boone had no postseason experience. Now he's going to the World Series.
I'll take talent over experience
Skill,
any day.
sure.
But in the case of a lot of the Yankees, the core of the team, I feel like, is Jeter, Posada, Pettit, and Mariano Rivera. Those guys are going for 5 rings. That's when experience comes in. Now, what's the biggest difference? Well, it's not because all of a sudden they know how to play because all the cameras are on them. They're going to make great plays, which we've seen time and time again, and I expect to probably see. But I think it's the preparation, all the other stuff that you go through where you're missing batting practice, games are starting late, just a lot of different distractions on the field. And they've been through this. They understand how to prepare for the game. I think that's very important. Posada, I think this is going to be one of his most challenging World Series for him because of the Florida Marlins' speed on offense. They will put pressure on him as a unit. And we'll get into that a little bit later in this show because I don't believe you run on the catcher. I think you run on the pitcher. Mariano Rivera's throwing the best he's thrown all year. And last night I heard some guy ask him, are you ready to redeem yourself? Redeem yourself? What's this? What else is this guy supposed to do? So there's a difference in the experience. But again, talent plays out a lot of times over experience. But I like the combination of the Yankees' talent and experience in this.
You see Conine leading Florida with 6 games. 7 New York Yankees have more than Conine's 6 games of experience. Obviously, now we're in the American League Park. It was supposed to be national because of Hank Blaylock's all-star game home run. This time it counts, and this time the Yankees benefit. They'll have home field advantage. But when they go to Florida, of course, there's no DH. How will that affect him?
Well, I think not using the DH will really affect the New York Yankees. And using the DH and using the DH in the American League town will not hurt the National League team because Juan Encarnacion can play the game of baseball. He's going to be in the lineup. He's going to be able to be a regular again. He kind of lost his job right at the end of the season because of Cabrera and Conine and Lowell coming back. But this guy's a real player. He can be the wild card for the wild card team. I think he can hit, run. If he needs to get play on defense, he can do that also. Now, when the Yankees get to Florida and they don't use their DH, they're going to lose either Nick Johnson or Jason Giambi. Well, this is huge. One of the guys is their best on-base percentage. Actually, they're two best on-base percentage guys on their team, but one supplies all the power, and the other is a young on-base guy who's played extremely well in the postseason. That's Nick Johnson here. So we're going to see a real transition, and I think home field, first two games for the New York Yankees is crucial for the Marlins. Get out of there with that one game, as everyone says. Get out with two maybe, but you can't go 0-2 because there's no coming back 0-2 against the Yankees. So this home field thing, DH thing, is very crucial.
I like your thought with Encarnacion, too, and the fact that he was in the American League and he's seen the Yankee pitchers before. I always think that's a huge advantage for the hitter when you've seen the pitcher before.
I like Bobby's ability to talk and scratch at the same time and spit out Encarnacion all at once.
Got it all.
I thought that was very, very impressive.
Get used to giving signs.
You giving signs while you're talking.
Signs for giving signs.
You people didn't see it. He's saying Encarnacion can hit the ball.
Bobby says
way.
Florida winning one of the two games important. The winner of Game 1 in this postseason, it hasn't really panned out. They are 2 and 4. Peter Gammons has witnessed a lot of postseason baseball and, of course, was at Yankee Stadium last night. He joins us now. Joe Torre, tired, obviously. Jack McKeon has had a day to rest, but Jack's tired as well. And as a result of all these games, for the first time ever, Peter, 2 NL and ALCS is going 7. The pitching rotations are in flux, are they not?
Well, they are because they had to use all the relievers to get here. I mean, for instance, the Yankees. Joe Torre decided to pitch David Wells. He thinks he can bounce back. He only faced 3 batters last night. But, I mean, he's still coming off 1 day's rest, and he doesn't even know who's going to pitch Game 2. My guess is it'll probably be Andy Pettitte on 3 days rest, but he's going to... He's loosened up, see who is better between Mussina and Pettitte. So, I mean, then you get back, you finally get the rotation set when you get to Florida. But in terms of the Marlins, they're basically the same situation. Jack McKeon said Brad Penny in 1. It looks like he's leading to Mark Redmond and then Josh Beckett. And then he said he'll figure out Game 4. But again, it's still a little bit of scramble. The interesting thing about the Marlins is it's very clear McKeon wants to keep Dontrelle Willis in the bullpen because he wants to be able to use him for the Yankee left-handers. You have got to have a left-hander to be able to come in with Matsui and with Giambi and all the left-handers in the Yankee lineup.
Wait a minute, there was a left-hander available last night to deal with those Yankee lefties. He didn't come into the game.
No.
He did not come in. Peter, it's good to have you back. Thanks.
Okay.
We'll see you shortly. We'll come back here on this program, folks. A lot more to do on the World Series special. The images of the season. As great as this postseason has been, the images are unbelievable. We'll compare the closers, Urbina and Rivera, and the home runs that left the building once the regular season ended. A postseason edition of Touch 'Em All. Don't forget the Web Gem Award Show comes up at the top of the hour as well. And in the images, some of the greatest and most memorable you'll ever see. Back, so are the Rally Monkeys and the Thundersticks, but you don't have the Angels winning the division or the wild card. So who's in the World Series and who wins?
Oakland and Arizona, and Oakland beats Arizona.
We'll take that for now. I'm a big fan of Oakland and Philadelphia. Boomer, back to you.
So, we're going to be the world champs at the end of October. Well, I say it's Boston over Arizona. Boston. The ghost is dead. Boston. I'm going out there. Whoa! You come out of the dugout, you're going to give us Boston.
I'm bringing it back to the West Coast. I should say keeping it back west. I'm picking the Giants to win it all. I just think they're the team to beat this year.
You are coachable.
I'm telling
Giants, Yankees. That's chalk, I know, but we'll see.
But the Angels, what happened?
Yankees have too many problems in their bullpen and too many books in their clubhouse. Close.
You were close.
I guess they're rewriting another chapter in the book.
And the bullpen problems all solve themselves.
Yeah, they never used them.
No.
The way they solved the bullpen problem, they never used the guys in the middle there. Just went to Rivera. Great job.
We'll talk more about Rivera in just a second. But as far as approaches go, now that the Marlins are there, and we all had the Marlins going to the World Series, what approach do they use to try to win games?
Well, I think the main thing on the defensive side, as far as their pitching is concerned, I think you got to pitch high in the zone for the Yankees. I think that's a spot that you can go after. If you watch throughout the years, I should say, but LaTroy Hawkins, great example. When the Twins were mowing them down, top of the zone, they were not able to catch up, and the Twins lived at the top of the zone when they were dominating this series. What that did is it opened up the rest of the strike zone. I think that's a big key, and if Brad Penny's able to do that, you got some holes in guys that you can reach. Soriano obviously struggling on the outside pitch. He's going to have to learn to hit that ball to right field. I shouldn't say learn, but he's going to have to do that in order to be effective at the top of that order.
3 innings for Rivera last night. He said he was ready to go a 4th. Now the question is, will he be ready to go for the 1st inning whenever they need him on Saturday night, or do they rest him? Joe says we'll see. Joe's getting in a mode where everybody's a we'll see. When it comes down to the closers, you do have 2 very good ones, though, with Rivera and Urbina.
Excellent closers, even though there's no one in the class of Mariano Rivera. No one. Urbina is terrific. He has a big heart. He loves to pitch. He loves to compete. He has a fastball and slider. He'll throw those 2 pitches all day long. He won't throw 3 innings any game of this series or any game the rest of his career, I don't think. But he'll give you everything he has when he's out on the hill. Understand the Yankee hitters know Urbina. Understand the Yankee hitters who are left-handed in particular, can hit this type of pitching and have in the past, where with Mariano Rivera, no one hits him, and most of the Florida Marlins have not ever seen him before. They're going to think this is something out of their worst nightmare when they get to the plate and see him. Now, what do you do to keep him out of the game? You get a lead before the 8th inning. Easier said than done, of course, but if they do that, I think they'll have a chance of winning some games. If they don't, they're not scoring runs against Mariano Rivera the way he's throwing now, which is as good as he's thrown in his entire career.
The fact that the Marlins have only Michael Tejera, and now as a result of what Jack McKeon allegedly is saying, Dontrelle Willis, that gives them another lefty.
I think that's important. You're going to have that left-hander to neutralize it, and you're wondering where is Dontrelle going to fit into this series. I think it's going to be in the left-handers. I thought he might start in New York because now of the DH, you're going to have Giambi and Johnson both in the lineup. When you go to Florida, one of those guys is going to sit on the bench, so you eliminate a left-hander. And I think if you start Dontrelle in New York against another left-hander, you neutralize that DH. But using him out of pen is going to be very effective.
And against a right-handed pitcher, you could DH Dontrelle, too.
You like
yes,
that,
you could.
Huh?
He can hit, man.
Yeah, he can.
He can hit.
You find it when you were in the World Series in 2000. Do you find that this is different? That teams still are sort of figuring out what roles bullpen guys are in? It's not just the Red Sox. It wasn't just the Yankees. There's a trust factor that's not there with a lot of these teams.
I think when this year started, there was such a question mark on so many bullpens in the league, especially some of the outstanding teams, that this has had a carryover effect throughout the entire season. Usually, by this time of the year, everything is set. This is the unique situation. This is not the way it's done as a rule.
But more
this
teams
is
are involved with that than the others.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that there are guys that they picked up at the end of the year that they don't really know.
Right.
And so they don't have a track record. And if you look at guys that have been successful, and Bobby's been there, he's been to the World Series, you know what guys you want to go to in a game. And if you don't have that kind of relationship, it's tough to go to them.
And the last thought on the bullpen is that in the National League City, the other part of the bullpen for the Yankees will be used. I will tell you that. There's no doubt about that. Some of these forgotten warriors are going to have to step up big. And just like Aaron Boone did, I wouldn't be surprised if you see the same thing out of some of these guys in their bullpen.
Okay, we'll come back. Jeff Brantley will join us. He'll talk about Dontrelle Willis a little bit later on. Then there is that relationship between that man and the guy who puts his name on the bottom of the checks, George Steinbrenner. We'll talk about it. Well, for the love of the baseball glove, folks, just about 40 minutes from now, Baseball Tonight presents the first annual WebGem Awards special. We'll hand out WebGem Awards to all 9 positions on the field. Honor the best team as far as WebGem.
Some of the plays are amazing.
Yeah, that is good television. That's at 8 o'clock Eastern Time tonight, folks, on ESPN2. Well, what a 24 hours for Joe Torre. He wins the league championship, now goes to the World Series, and then finds himself mired in a bit of a controversy, trying to defuse the comments of his bench coach, Don Zimmer, who somewhere in the midst of all the celebration last night was asked about whether he'd be back next season. He says, I won't be back. I'm a human being, and I ain't been treated like one in 11 months, referring to some of the things that the owner, George Steinbrenner, has done to Don Zimmer. Well, Buster Olney's been covering the New York Yankees for years, and he files this report.
George Steinbrenner started complaining before the season began, saying that shortstop Derek Jeter was spending too much time out on the town. Steinbrenner also said that the coaching staff, virtually intact since this dynasty began in 1996, wasn't working hard enough. Manager Joe Torre, an expert at navigating around Steinbrenner to prevent distractions, this year engaged the boss in tabloid warfare.
Mr. Steinbrenner has been more vocal. It doesn't mean that he has said more this year. It's just that it's been more public. And I think it's taken a lot more time to respond. And then at times when I did respond, it didn't flow as well as I hoped it would.
A lot of darts were thrown at the guy I consider my number one boss. Obviously George is the number one boss for everybody, but the guy I work directly with, I wasn't very happy with some of the situations that were handed to Joe.
Sources in the organization say Steinbrenner is more impetuous than ever. They say he's likely to strip general manager Brian Cashman of his power and take full control of personnel decisions if the Yankees lose the World Series to the Marlins. Pitching coach Mel Stottlemyre could be jettisoned. Bench coach Don Zimmer's job is already in serious jeopardy, and Steinbrenner may even look for an excuse to dump Torre.
We're trying to, be everything that we can be for the players, and for us to think about what our future holds, then that's really not doing our jobs. No, I don't sense any uneasiness.
Torre has said he is not having as much fun as in the past, and his friends say that while Torre intends to honor the last year of his contract, it might be a relief if Steinbrenner got rid of him.
Well, Joe's been tremendous, and I don't anticipate him not being here, throughout the next year for us as well. And he's been awesome.
No, I think this is the best job that Joe has done in the 8 years that I've been here. We had some problems in the clubhouse. We had some problems on the field. We had some problems other places. We had some problems in the papers. And the way the guy handled all those situations is just amazing to me.
Yankees win! The Yankees win!
Changes to the core of the team are coming as well. 21-game winner Andy Pettitte is eligible for free agency and could sign elsewhere, perhaps closer to his home in Texas. Roger Clemens is retiring, and David Wells and Jeff Weaver could also be gone.
All the indications that talk that we've heard this year, if I go by that, of course, I don't always believe what I read in the paper, but if you go by that, certainly would be some changes. How massive it would be, I couldn't tell you.
Steinbrenner's payroll, more than $180 million this year, could balloon to over $200 million if, as expected, he goes crazy after free agents. Top players seek the professionalism and tranquility fostered by Torre, but if the Yankees fail to win the World Series, the Bronx Zoo could reopen for business.
Buster, thank you. Peter, that is a big if. I mean, they are 4 games away from winning a World Series. Will all this go away if they win?
No, it'll never go away. I mean, I think Rick Down will be replaced, Mel Stottlemyre, Don Zimmer. I mean, George Steinbrenner has become a misanthrope. I mean, the other night when they were losing in Game 6, he brought in Brian Cashman and Gene Michael, and he was ranting and raving. It's all over. We got to get rid of everybody. I mean, there's no party after any games. There's no gala before the World Series. They're not even going to be Yankee World Series pins. I mean, and yet there's an atmosphere. Joe Torre keeps him away from him, and George never comes down. He's not going to come down and confront any player. A couple of the coaches told me they haven't talked to him in 4 years. So, I mean, he sits up there and rants and raves, and the Yankees try to go about their business knowing that, as players talk about, that if they lose a couple of games, and, heads have to roll.
Right. And then I guess it's a balancing act, Peter, because of all the extra stuff that goes on with a man who clearly puts his team in a position, financially anyway, to win.
Well, yeah, because they have so many more revenues, and it allows them to have a $60 million payroll larger than anybody else. And it's a very good team. They still have great core players. But Steinbrenner is also very fortunate. Torre has navigated this team through a lot. They also have, in my mind, the player that does the most to make all the other players perform, and that's Derek Jeter. I mean, to me, he's a great point guard, or a Magic Johnson or whatever. He makes everybody better around him. He assumes the responsibility. He's the guy in front of his locker every night. And, they're fortunate. Those guys get it through. If they weren't there, I think it would be very different.
All right, Peter, thank you very much. We'll be back with you a little bit later on.
Okay.
All right, when we come back, folks, something you have to see in order to get ready for the World Series. We'll show you 5 key matchups to look forward to. Hitters versus pitchers next. All right, it is a team game, but there are individual matchups throughout, especially through the course of 9 innings and maybe even more the way the postseason has gone. Florida Marlins stole 150 bases, Harold. So who's the pressure on now?
Well, I think the pressure's on the pitchers. You know, obviously everybody's going to say, oh, they ran on Posada. You got great steals on him. But I think it's the jumps that you're going to get. I think you can run on the Yankee starters. The only guy I think you're really going to have trouble with is Andy Pettitte. He's got a great pickoff move. I think you got to steal third base more so than second base. Jorge Posada's come a long ways this year. Footwork has been great. Bobby, you broke that down a few times on Baseball Tonight. And I think the Red Sox ran into a lot of outs in this series. 3 times they were thrown out with swing and misses. And I think Florida obviously has more team speed. Even Derek Lee is going to steal some bases for you. A lot of the steals from the other guys on the club for the Marlins, other than Castillo and Pierre, are elements of surprise. And you got to continue to do that. And I think the biggest surprise for even Castillo and Pierre is going to be going from second to third, not first to second. The one downfall I did see is they got very small leads. And if you got a bad lead, you're not going to steal a base. I think that's the problem Pierre ran into in the last series. He's got to lengthen that lead and stay aggressive.
If Pettitte pitches 2 games, he'll pick off 2 guys.
I agree with you.
Even though they won't be running, he'll pick up 2.
Because when you have, especially when you have not seen Andy Pettitte before, you're going to say it's a balk every time you see it. And it may be or it may not be, but it's not called a balk by the umpires, and therefore you're going to get picked off.
It confuses you a little bit.
He's very good.
Yankee starters can confuse hitters as well. Now there are some hitters here who can seemingly show up and hit anybody. They haven't the postseason so far.
Well, they know the pitchers too, and as Harold mentioned earlier, they'll spread the word on what these guys like to do against them. Jeff Conine has had success against some of the Yankee starters, played in Baltimore, and did a great job of beating them at times. Pudge Rodriguez has been in the American League his whole career except for this year. He knows these guys well, and he knows how not to hit them because a couple of them were around Pettitte and Clemens, for instance, when Pudge was in the postseason against them in the past. But these guys are hot right now. They feel good, and they've taken a leadership position on this team. I look for them to do some damage. Yankee starters are very good, though.
Yeah, rare that you see those average over 300. Now, there was this idea that Aaron Boone saved a season or became a Yankee last night. What is he going to do against the Marlins? Is there a carryover?
Well, there's a carryover. I think he saved the season as far as I'm concerned without everybody looking at stats and saying this is how you build a club. That's what we would have been hearing the whole time had Boston continued to advance. But I think the key here with Aaron Boone is, obviously, Bobby's talked about the knowledge before. He hasn't had great success, but he's had some success. Obviously, he was an all-star player in the National League. And again, you go back and you talk about, here's what Brad Penny likes to do. He got me on a breaking ball. He's got a big hook, or he'll bust me in with a fastball. These are the things you take back. Here's what Redmond does. He likes to bust you in and then get that changeup away. Those are the things that Aaron Boone will say. Dontrelle Willis, I faced him just one time. He busted me inside. Those are the things you take back. And then the next time, I was looking out over the plate a little bit more. As he gets later in the ball game, you can get him. You know, different things like that are the discussions you're going to have. But I think maybe the biggest contributor of all is going to be Gabe White, because pitchers are really at a huge advantage when it comes to meetings, in my mind.
Unfamiliarity?
Absolutely. And so Gabe White's going to be able to talk to tomorrow's starter, David Wells. Trust me, they've had these conversations already. He's going to talk to Andy Pettitte. Why those two? Because they're left-handed. And he's also, the other thing that happens with pitchers is they keep the books. You know, so I'm sure Gabe White has kept the books before. He understands how to relay the messages and go over those things. I think that's huge, valuable messages you pass on, what you try to do against certain guys and how you attack, and what the Reds might have been thinking about, or what other pitchers in the National League have shared. And trust me, there's a lot of information going on, but nothing compares to getting out on the field and going ahead and trying to make it execute.
Right, and you help us out.
I'm sorry, Carl, but you will hear the guy saying, see the ball, hit the ball, I don't care what anybody else says, and there will be some of those guys.
Absolutely.
But people like Gabe White or Contreras or Weaver, you think they'll be used in the National League parks? How come more so there?
Well, because there'll be some double switching, and there'll be some earlier moves where you have to pinch hit for the pitchers. Now, you know, the Yankees will be at a disadvantage not having their pitchers hit very much, except for in that interleague play. And so you're going to see a pinch hit or 2 or 3 in those middle 3 games.
Okay, now one thing we obviously talk about, biggest stage in the world, and now you're playing at Yankee Stadium, and there is a lot of youth on this club. Cabrera has been outstanding, Bobby. Hit a great home run against the Cubs in Wood. Any reason he's going to be affected or phased?
No, I think he's thought about playing at Yankee Stadium. He'll probably have 15 passes in the stands, and I think he'll do fine. And again, how fine? As fine as his ability will allow him to do.
And his ability is pretty good. And you know what? You were talking about Pudge earlier and his success and what he's learned throughout the years. I think the other thing is you think about guys in the past. Andrew Jones, when he was just a youngster, he was 19 years old, this home run right here.
He stepped
Yankee
up.
Stadium. Oh, well. It's a great place to play. I think Cabrera's talents are at the top of the tier of guys that we've seen come through.
Well, he's just like Andrew Jones. That's the talent he has, and he's unfazed by fastballs in, breaking balls away, because he sees the ball so early.
And you were talking about he has a very similar swing to Pudge. When you hit with certain guys, you take on those traits and those characteristics of those hitters, and I think Pudge has really done a great job.
I think they hit in the same group together.
I do.
I'm sure they do.
They've learned a lot.
Yeah.
He's a gem, though. They found him, and nobody had heard about Miguel Cabrera. They found a position for him to play. He'll play every inning, you think, at some position?
He'll play every inning, and he'll do some damage here and there, and he'll strike out a few times, no doubt about that. But we remember watching the first game that he played, he was taking pitches so early with no movement of his bat. We said, who is this kid? He can really play the game of baseball. The more we saw him, the more we like him. The more you see him, the more you like him.
And, you know, we so often hear about the Yankee scouts, and they had 7 scouts out there scouting the Marlins and everything else, but give the Marlins scouting department some credit for finding a young man like this who, at 20 years old, is at the center of the stage right now, and he's going to go perform well.
All right. Dontrelle somewhat neutralizes it, but clearly the Yankees are a much more left-handed team. Left-handed pitching, much more left-handed hitting team. This is something that we need to be concerned about?
Well, in Yankee Stadium, you have to watch out for that short porch, and there's going to be a lot of fastballs thrown in that first game with Brad Penny. Few of them can fly over the wall very, very easily.
Well, and I think what's important is that you're going to have an extra left-hander with the DH, you know, with Giambi or Johnson, however way they want to work that. And when you start thinking about, well, who do the Marlins have down there? You have Teixeira, who has really struggled against left-handers. He's given up over 300 batting average versus lefties.
They've been afraid to use the man.
They haven't even brought him in.
I mean,
you know, so he's got to pitch. Maybe, but that's where Dontrelle becomes the X factor. You put him in the pen. Now, he did actually get a little work in the pen in the Giant series, faced Barry Bonds coming out of the bullpen, and he pitched the other day. Problem has been he's been a little bit wild right now, so will he pitch himself into a jam as opposed to maybe getting him a chance to settle in and
Now, a lot of
pitch.
times, Leiter, a good example. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a lefty against lefty. Sometimes that's neutralized. But how about some of their right-handed pitchers? Can they get lefties out? I mean, Beck can get anybody out, can he?
Yeah, Beck can get anyone out, and Penny on a given day can get anyone out. He has, very good stuff. People might overlook him, but he has that very good 94-mile-an-hour fastball, a super hook, and he's, going up against David Wells, and I think they're kind of out of the same cloth. I think this is a very interesting challenge for Brad Penny.
I think Brad Penny's going to love it. The Marlins, I think Jack McKeon said it best. We're playing like nobody expects us to be here. You got nothing to lose.
Right.
And this is a dream for them to be playing in the World Series and just let it hang out.
It's a dream now. It was a nightmare, of course, following that 1997 World Series. Let's bring Peter Gammons back in. And, Peter, I think when the Cubs and Red Sox checked out, baseball lost a lot of those non-baseball hardcore fans because you can glom onto the underdog. You think this Marlin team will somehow catch fire with the country?
Yeah, I really think so,
do?
Carl. I mean, and I think it's been sort of an interesting evolution. And it's been a slow building process since Wayne Huizenga broke them up right after the World Series of '97. But it's the previous ownership and under Dave Dombrowski as general manager. I mean, they did sign Cabrera. They signed Beckett. They signed Castillo. They signed Gonzalez. They traded for Lowell and Penny and A.J. Burnett. And then the new ownership took over. And, Larry Beinfest as general manager deserves a lot of credit. He's the one who got Willis thrown into that deal. And this last offseason, he went out, he got Pudge Rodriguez, he got Redmond, he got Juan Pierre. And then when they had to make their move, they were a lot of teams sat around and did nothing come July. But they went out, they got Ugi Urbina and Jeff Conine. They deserve a lot of credit for that.
And everyone looks towards May 10th on this list of the milestone dates when Jeff Torborg was fired and they named Jack McKeon manager. Now, Peter, if in fact they do win this World Series, please tell us we're not looking at another fire sale.
No, you know, I think just the opposite is going to be. You know, what's really interesting, and I'm told by sources in Major League Baseball, and, you know, both Jeff Lurie and David Sampson have been quiet about it because they don't want to rankle the politicians, but I'm told that they really believe that they can have a downtown Miami ballpark in place by December 1st. If that's the case, you know, they may lose Louis Castillo as a free agent. They might move Derek Lee because he's going to make $9 million in arbitration, and they have Conine to play first base. But there's not going to be that fire sale that there was before. They're trying to make a run to stay there in Florida, and, you know, it would be very interesting what would happen if they got that really attractive ballpark downtown.
Is this a flash in the pan? Is this lightning in a bottle? Is this a long-term situation, regardless of the ballpark, that you have the Cabreras and you sign the Lowells again for another couple of years, and you keep the core, even a Pudge Rodriguez?
Well, I mean, Pudge wants to go back there, and you know, I think it makes a lot of sense to give him his long-term contract. I think a lot will depend on whether or not they get that ballpark. It's a huge gamble. They're planning a monster party down there on Monday night, a gala before Game 3. And, you know, part of it is to bring all the politicians in and get a lot of enthusiasm in the air. If they get that ballpark, Miami can still be a pretty good market. I really believe that.
McKeon, you know, obviously the oldest to manage in a World Series. Will he be back? He's earned it, right?
He says he's not sure.
Really?
And, you know, I understand that. I mean, my guess is he will come back. I mean, especially after the way he had to leave Cincinnati. It's a lot of fun for him. But he says right now he hasn't made up his mind. He might go back and play with his grandkids in North Carolina.
He has it's not a desire to go manage somewhere else. This is to manage the grandchildren.
Right.
Okay.
And, I mean, that scene with him getting the cell phone calls from the grandkids the other night was classic.
Yeah. All right, Peter, we'll get your World Series prediction in just a bit.
Okay.
He's all excited about his predictions, and I know Bobby and Harold are too. We'll give you the images of a great season. Baseball, apparently, back, folks. Front page and healthier than ever. And the web gems from the Yankees and the Marlins. You need a few of those if you want to compete for a World Series title. And then there are other predictions. As you've seen, you can write them in stone cold lock. Oh, yeah. From infancy, and it is now matured and flowered and is ready to go out there for all of you to see. The Baseball Tonight Web Gem Award Special.
Alex Rodriguez at shortstop. You're going to see some plays of this that will stick in your mind forever.
Hey, man, I'm telling you about the play Renteria made. That's got to be play of the year.
And Eric Chavez's play and the play by Lou Merlone. It's coming up next at the top of the hour. The Baseball Tonight Web Gem Award Special. Jeff Brantley now joins us from Yankee Stadium. Big decision. We're going to go with David Wells. Got that rubber arm in Game 1 for the New York Yankees. As long as it's not too cold and the back holds up, things should be okay. Right, Jeff?
I think they'll be fine. You talk about David Wells. You look back at spring training and the book incident. You hear all the time guys worried about David, worried about this, worried about that. Well, guess what? He's taking care of business on the field. And I think when David is taking care of business on the field, I think that's the biggest issue. And all the time that he's been pitching so far in the postseason, he has actually pitched better than anyone else on this Yankees staff. And you watch David Wells, especially pitching when he was pitching against Minnesota, he was really commanding the strike zone, not only with his fastball, but also with his breaking ball. And the biggest thing that I see is in pressure situations, Wells is very fine. On the flip side of the coin, even though Penny may be starting in Game 1, I think one of the most important pitchers for the Florida Marlins is Dontrelle Willis. And the reason that I say that is because he's going to be the one lefty that's coming out of that bullpen, and they have got to have him under control. And I'm not talking about his brain under control. I'm talking about his mechanics under control. And the only way he's going to have that under control is to be able to control that adrenaline. And right now for Dontrelle, this is big-time baseball. He's feeling it. He's feeling it just like he would when he was 12 years old. All of this is what he's been dreaming about his whole life. Dontrelle has got to get it together mechanically so he can command the strike zone. Right now, he's having a difficult time with it. If he can control it, this could be very crucial for the Florida Marlins because there's a whole lot of left-handed bats on this Yankees lineup.
Have you noticed that he has been, I guess for lack of a better term, out of control with his mechanics? Doesn't he always appear to be a bit on the edge when it comes to mechanics?
Well, part of his mystique is his ability to hide the baseball, Carl. And a lot of times when you have funky mechanics, you get out of whack just the smallest amount, and it creates a big problem for you. And right now, when Dontrelle Willis has a problem, I think his heart gets beaten a little bit too fast. He starts to rush to the plate a little bit too quick. His arm doesn't get up. and I think it causes problems with his control. We've seen it time and time again. Well, Dontrelle Willis is going to have to back off a little bit. Maybe 90% of effort is a little bit better for Dontrelle Willis in the playoffs right now.
Well, Jeff, what do you do in between time right now? Is there time enough to work on his mechanics before he has to be in a ball game?
Harold, I don't know if it's just mechanics as much as it is his mental makeup and what he's taking out into the ball game. You can't walk to the mound and hear the fans in the stands. You can't walk to the mound and feel your shirt moving because your heart's beating so fast. You've got to get yourself under control, because if your mental and your heart is not under control, you're not going to be able to control your mechanics. So he's got to start with the head, he's got to start with the heart, and I think the mechanics will follow.
All right, JB, thank you. David Wells, at 40 years old, the oldest pitcher to start Game 1 in World Series history. We'll see you at the series, Jeff. Thanks. We'll come back here on this edition of Baseball Tonight, the World Series special, and the web gems from the Yankees and from the Florida Marlins. Defense gets you to the big show, and we'll touch them all as well.
Keep them in the game.
Oh, let's see the balls that left the building from these Marlins and the Yankees. You think Marlins, you think speed, but there's also this guy, Pudge. Game 3 of the division series.
Swing the bat as good as I've ever seen in my life.
Hard to imagine he can continue to do it, but he might have 7 more games in him.
Remember, they lost Game 1, came back, won the next 3. Game 1 against the Cubs, Mike Lowell pinch hitting and hitting a home run, and they were down 3-1 in this series.
And remember, he was a Yankee, and he has a little something to prove.
There was this Game 7 shot on a real good pitch that Miguel Cabrera hit off Wood.
Well, Mike Lowell forced the hand to put Cabrera in the lineup every day. I mean, obviously he's talented, but Mike Lowell coming back.
Forced the hand by breaking his hand. That's right.
Giambi goes to the 7 slot and hits 2 home runs against the Red Sox. And then there was the home run that everybody
good
will
7th place hitter.
A long high drive down the left field line. It's over. Aaron Boone has homered on the first pitch from Wakefield, and the Yankees have won the pennant.
There's a fly ball deep to left. It's on its way. There it goes. And the Yankees are going to the World Series. Aaron Boone has hit a home run. They are waiting for him at home plate, and now he dives into the scrum.
We didn't hear the Yankees win. Oh, okay.
We just did.
Oh, we did.
Now the web gems. At second base for the New York Yankees. Off criticized, but that flip play there to Jeter helped him in that one.
Came after an error, so, you know, expect the ball to be hit back at you. A lot of confidence.
Jeter made a couple of great plays in that game, diving to his left, and then a really strong throw to get Varitek. And then to end the game, this was Game 5 against the Red Sox, an over-the-shoulder catch.
Made it look easy, didn't he?
But our web gems of the year are better than that.
All of them, in fact.
Stick around.
All of them.
8 o'clock.
Encarnacion against San Francisco, diving, catching right, and using full extension to get there. Then there's Miguel Cabrera against the Cubs.
You do extend in defense, but you never extend when you're hitting the ball. Nice extension there.
I love the Marlins D. I mean, Pudge here, this is a great play on a short hop pick on Conine.
Prevents the game from going into potential extra innings.
But talking about defense, Conine will have left field in Yankee Stadium. That's a different animal.
Now, that was the play of the postseason for the Florida Marlins.
That's a different animal.
Yeah.
Here's your stat of the postseason. The average margin of victory is 2.7 runs this postseason, the lowest margin of victory in the first 2 rounds since the postseason expanded in 1995. Folks, we'll come back with the images of the season. They've been good ones. They've been scary ones. These have been memorable games, and we played just about all we can. Welcome back to Baseball Tonight. We nailed it right on the head when the season began. We all had the Marlins and Yankees, so now it's time to see who's going to win this World Series. And we set out to Yankee Stadium, join Peter Gammons, Jeff Brantley. Peter, go ahead.
Well, I think I'm going to let Jeff say his first.
You are.
My prediction is the Yankees in 6. And the reason that I say that is because this club plays with more emotion than any club from the Yankee side that I've seen in a long time.
Well, I'm saying the Yankees, too, in 7, but I think this is going to be a much better series than a lot of people think. I love the Marlins, just the way they approach, but in the end, it's Mr. Jeter and Mr. Rivera on to Cooperstown.
All right, boys, and we'll see you shortly in New York. Harold, do you have a prediction,
Well,
right?
Garrett Anderson from the Angels is always getting on me saying, pick the underdog. So I'm going with the underdog. I'm going with the Yankees in 6.
They're the underdog. With home field and the 20 million World Series titles, they're the underdog. Bobby, it says right under your name there, Marlins.
I think the Yankees won the World Series yesterday. Anyway, in their mind, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to play with that same Yankee intensity. They should win. I think the Marlins are going to sneak in.
It reeks of a 7-game series. I mean, it's been so close. We've had 6 extra inning games this postseason. Last year, we had none. For everybody who helps make it possible, enjoy now the images of the season. So long, everybody.
It's a no-no at New York for 6 Houston pitchers. Devon steals it, number 500. Sugarman swinging, number 4,000. And Roger Clemens has won his 300th game.
Taking the lead. Every day a new deception. Pick your seat and take direction. And on a search to connect. But I don't wear a mask and I have no regrets. I am focused on what I have entered. The key to the next.
A spectacular home run for Albert Pujols. Wow, what a play! That was the worst base running in the history of the game. 4 home runs for Carlos Delgado. Turn around one, and he's done it again. He's writing the script.
A magical night at Fenway. And that's a wild card clincher for the Marlins.
Cubs win the division. Yeah! Are going to the World Series. And the Yankees are going to the World